Alrighty, well, this is day two. Um, so this is the composite frame bike building project. My name is David Tretchell with Wallfacer Design. We're going to start calling this Wallfacer Bikes, something along that line. Today's going to be a little bit weird for basically weather reasons. It's really cold here, so I'm working in the shop, but I might not be able to stand it for that long, to be completely honest. But the idea today is to do the rear half of the frame. So yesterday we finished essentially all of this region, minus the head tube, which we'll buy, and we also finished the seat section as well. So what we need to do today is these back rear triangles. They're a little more complicated just because they have angles built into them, but we already have these long sections cut. Those were done yesterday, so if you missed that video, they're up on YouTube, and also on the Hackaday page. But it should be fairly straightforward, but the junctions where this actually meets with the seat tube and the rest of the frame, it's going to get a little bit complicated. Good thing is we don't really need to worry about this bottom bracket too. It's just kind of there as a simulation right now. That's probably actually going to be up a little bit, or we're probably going to be building something in this region. I also have questions about where the sprocket's going to go and whether we should be doing like a drop chainstay for this side. I've seen that as a common thing. So we have some flexibility here. Also, I made some notes in the Hackaday page about it, but right now this is all based in inch system, which first of all is not a good idea in like almost any case. It's just very imprecise, and honestly, they just don't make that many rulers that work in tenths or essentially metric divisions of inches. So 10.1 inches is pretty hard to normally do through a fractional system. You have to have a specialized ruler for that. So either way, there are some serious errors in the frame already that I noticed, and it's just because I was using inches for the system. Part of that was because of the boundaries that I built in. So there's certain angles, that only make sense for bicycles that you can't really go in and or out of. Certain things like the stack and reach limits, are never going to be below a certain number, and they're never going to be above a certain number for any typical frame set. So those constraints have already been built in the system, but in order for us to convert all that to metric, I have to basically change those upper and lower boundary limits. So that's going to happen, but that's probably going to happen tomorrow, maybe this afternoon, depending on how I feel about it. But since we're already, more like about halfway done with the, primary build of this frame, and we've learned a lot already, I'm just going to keep going, build this back, and then we're going to glue it together and see what it looks like, hopefully. And that might be all done today, but probably with gluing it together, those photos will be uploaded later. It's not going to be instant. I don't have Super 77 right now. So there you go. That's the main overview. So today we're building those rear triangles, and from there they'll get shaved down. They don't obviously need to be this chunky. And like I said, we might change at least this member to allow for like a different sprocket size. Okay, I'll just get to work. You're gonna probably see me bounce off camera here and there because I'm eating lunch while I'm doing this, and there you go. That's what's up today. So we'll see how this works out. So we'll just grab one of these members first. So it's going to be a very similar process to yesterday, if people were there for that, or if they catch up later. Let's see how we want to do this. So we're going to measure from essentially this point to the end, and then we'll find the difference in that cut value. And it looks like once we make that cut, we'll be able to flip the member and it'll transform into exactly the correct angle we want. But we'll double check the dimension when we get there. This should be really simple and straightforward, actually. So let's do it. So we'll go with standard line, pull it to the end, and then we want to make sure we connect to the right place. We'll use bubble to measure this. It's 14.29 inches. So I have the member stored back over here. And that piece is still labeled from yesterday. So it's the top right triangle. So we'll double check the dimension again. It was 14.29. Ruler. And since the other side is going to be a mirror, once we get to that point, I'm going to just go ahead and, I'll basically just trace from this template and I'll cut the other one as well. Like I said, this should go pretty quick. And we'll find the region of declination. From here to here. It's going to be some very small amount. Exactly a quarter. So that must be a 45-degree bend effectively. So, if you can see this, we went from this cut, and then now we have a transformation here, which we'll measure, and it should match up. So that's our nice convenient little bend right there. So let's figure out what that dimension is supposed to be for the longest edge, and then we'll just double check. Start of line. Alright, so that line is supposed to be 6.67 inches. Which it is not. And it's probably because I cut the wrong member. Haha! So what we'll do is we'll cheat. Well, let's trace it. Yeah. So I actually cut the wrong member, so that's a little bit annoying, but hey, you can make mistakes once in a while. So we'll just trace that dimension here. I'm pretty sure I thought it was supposed to be 6.67. So here's 6. That's actually still short, so it must be measuring from the center point, so it's not actually the outer dimension. So that's interesting, but the way we can get around that is by actually tracing something like this. So I'll just take this to 6. And then say 67. And now I'm actually using hundredths. Found all my rulers for that. And it looks like I'll be able to use the same piece of scrap for another piece as well. Or, actually, what I think I'll do is, because I already have these 2 pieces cut, I'll start lopping it off of either a scrap piece, which I don't think I have anything long enough, almost there, or I'm just going to cut it off of the other scrap piece that was supposed to be the other top. Let's see. At least one longer piece that I could use, but I'm just going to start cutting this part. We'll do 6. 7. Oh, that's actually backwards. Yeah, it should be like this. I'll measure. Six. Definitely a learning curve to this. But I can see how once the first couple are, the first couple frames are done, we have like a working model, this is gonna go pretty quick. Because it's just gonna be a matter of like, oh, right, just copying these dimensions down and cutting where it's appropriate, Alright. So I'm going to lie these down on the ground and we'll be able to see essentially the top view. Give me 1 second here. And at this point, I'm going to measure between the axles as well, so we can make sure. So this is actually the rear top of the triangle. So I'm going to measure the axle width and then compare it to what I actually have dimensioned, just to make sure we're not messing something seriously up. But so we just looked at effectively this view. It bows out slightly, but that's going to kind of correct itself, I think, as we start to cut the other components and then join it together. Just because of that joint. So this curve here, how wide is that? That is 5.32 inches. We'll measure between. And that is close enough. Yeah, that's actually very close, which is extremely encouraging. So I'm going to take a bite of my burrito, and I'm going to grab the other pieces to start cutting these. So, 2 pieces. Let me see if my camera's messed up. No, it looks fine. So for this one, let's grab one of these edges. And again, I'm expecting this to get messed up, because of that weird tangent line length. So what I really need to be doing is I need to find some way to tell it to measure the exterior length. And that's actually the true length of the member we're going to cut. Also looks like I could have just added maybe like an inch effectively or something like that. And that would add the extra travel distance. Because it's really from there to there, from there to there, over. Anyways, lessons learned. Let's see how long this is. So we'll go from here. So that's 12.89, we'll just say 12.9. That's good enough. Literally just misplaced my ruler. Where did I put it? Put it on somewhere. Just had it. I'm going crazy. Well, they'll probably turn up in a second or two. When it's getting backed out a quarter. So a pretty shallow angle, really. But once you add it up together, it's bigger. Grab these scraps. Hopefully one will work. And then the next piece is going to go from here to here. How long is that? 6.26. Oh, too short. How about this? That's long enough. And I'm just going to call it 6 1/4. Measure down. Do the angle. And then cut. Another piece that'll work. Found my 100th ruler. It was under some foam. But this is actually, surprisingly, the last cut for the actual primary member. And then from there, it's just cutting out the little notches and stuff. So we can actually join these pieces together. Alright, so the top is the longer pieces, and the shorter ones are for the bottom. And there might be some like length inconsistencies or something like that, but nothing too crazy or insignificant or too significant. So I think this is going to work for putting things together. So really it looks like what we should do, this is slightly off-centered in this rendering and actually in the true model, but for the ease of just producing this initial frame, I'm just going to consider this cut like an actual, this blank cut all the way through. So with no overhang on the interior is would actually happen. So we'll do a Boolean split, and then I'm going to pull out the angles, and we're just going to cut it from there, and we'll call it a day. Because figuring out this joint is going to be way more challenging. So let's go Boolean split. We're going to split this with this, and that's going to give us that. We're just going to pull that up for a handy 50 real quick, just so we can actually look at that. So what this is telling me is from that top edge, I'm going to measure down, and then a certain distance, draw that point, measure over, down. Yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. So we'll do a couple lines here. So we'll go boop, that. We're going to do another line that's going to be perpendicular to that. And then we're going to do another line that's perpendicular to here and measure over that distance. That should be able to give us all the information we need to cut this. We're going to delete this for a minute and start examining. So it's going to be 1.26 down. So first of all, I got to grab my top piece. In the correct orientation. And measure down 1.26. Next dimension is going to be 1.18 over and that's going to be 0.64 and then we're going to measure down half and all the way respectively. Once we get a second camera, I'll put it up above me so people can actually see like the dimensions I'm pulling and stuff like that, and that way we have like a detailed camera we can move around. That gives us a nice clean angle cut. That's where we're going to have our junction in the bottom where the axle is actually going to go. So I'm going to cut the complementary for that. So that goes like this, that goes like that. So I'm just going to trace. Very precise. I know. And so, I mean, for 30 minutes, you know, we've built the entire rear triangle. So what that means is so far, this frame to actually cut all the primary members has only taken 2.5 hours. This is the first time. That's pretty encouraging in my mind that this process can become more precise and faster over time to create, you know, ultimately a really awesome result. So I'm just gonna line these suckers up so that we have an idea of what they look like. In a split second here. Well, I at least got one of them to stand up, which is actually kind of a miracle. But there you go. That's what that angle was. So that's that joint, and that allows us to start building that rear triangle. So we just need to do a couple more cutouts. These ones are probably a little more complex. Maybe I'll have to cut these by hand, or with a chisel or something silly like that, or the razor blade. But yeah, I guess we'll start pulling it apart and figure that out. First things first, though, let's get this down. So you can kind of see actually where all these floating angles that I've been measuring are in space. So since we've already started on that top piece, I'm thinking that we should just keep going. So I think we're going to split this with this. And then again, we'll move this up 50. Because I shouldn't even have moved it down. So this one's going to be a little more complicated. Sorry for my weird navigation skills here. So the good thing with this is that really this top section here does not need to exist. Although I guess it does. Yeah, it just blind ends. So let's see here. How do we do this? How do I want to cut this? Really tricky. This is going to be even more annoying to actually kind of duplicate. Yeah, it's really just because it's at this bizarre angle. This looks like it rendered so strangely. But really it looks like this, there's a little corner here that doesn't need to exist. It's showing up in the illustrations and stuff like that. Yeah. We're just going to ignore that and we're going to cut right on through it. Call that done. So really what we're going to do is we're going to be measuring a couple members here. So we'll go from here to I guess we'll measure out. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we really only need to measure, we should measure into there as well. Okay, so we need to do a couple more lines as well. So we'll come perpendicular. Yeah. get rid of that, and that should give us these line lengths. Okay, so I gotta think about this, but looks like we're gonna go, let's come in, so first off, what's this distance? That's 0.8. And that's 0.93. This section is 0.68. With an extension of 0.1. This is where it gets a little funky, I guess. And then go in 0.84. Yeah, so this is going to be kind of weird because I'm going to cut an angle. Yeah, I'm going to do this by hand actually. Because I'm basically going down to a certain depth and then cutting over. Okay, so that's our little corner cut there. It seems straight, but it's actually not. It's actually angled very, very subtly. So the goal now is going to be to reproduce that on the opposite side, mirroring it. Sorry I'm not talking as much today, I guess. Just busy working. actually all the information I need to reproduce that cut. Well, we got a mirror. So now I got two of these guys. So okay, yeah, this makes sense how this is going to work. I'm kind of curious if there's going to be like a small gap or something, but it doesn't seem like there is. All right. Yeah, it's only interfering with that one member. We already cut that out. Alright, so for these bottom sections, we're going to ignore this. Actually, we're just going to select these two, go 50. It seems like there's a little piece here where that tag is. But really, it's that interference in the seat post. So I think what I'm going to do is just cut that seat post and leave these chainstay guys alone. So we'll go Boolean split. We'll split this with that. And then we're going to shift this up 50 so we can have a good look at what the heck we're making here. Because I don't think it's going to be beautiful. And I guess there's another thing worth noting is that like we are going to be putting a bottom bracket in here. So we might as well just assume that we're going to be cutting through that. Makes me think I should just, I guess we should just do this incrementally. Because really I should drill a hole through it for the alignment. So let's throw these down, -50 again. That's a decision made. This is a little bit more complicated shape than it really needs to be. And we could certainly like trim it so that it's not as ridiculous. But I'm cool with doing this. I think it'll be fine. So I guess the easier way to do this would be actually to measure all the way this length down to that side, come over, then down to what we know is our edge here. Interesting. What does this look like from the bottom? I mean, it's almost like a perfect little V-notch cut. So I guess the easier way to be, we come in and then slice. Interesting. Yeah, this is going to be tricky. I kind of want to just lop off that interior triangle and fill that in, like, later or something like that. So basically just have an angle cut again. Yeah, and then we could just cut out that section, perhaps. But I think that really it's that interface point there that matters. So I think that I am going to just do that. You know, I know it's kind of like a cheating method or something like that. but nah. So we'll just do it this way. Go pop, pop. Man, that's annoying. It's almost like it just doesn't want to match. But really I only need to know that angle effectively, so I'll just do it that way. And I can measure over to the end. So let me go grab that piece. Alright. I'm going to need to draw some lines. Looks like that snapped to the wrong point. So I'm just going to redo it. There we go. .37 inches. There's actually a surprisingly small angle as well. It is so weird when you're looking at it on the screen because it looks a lot larger than it really is. But no, these are small little cuts, little nibbles here and there. So. And that intersection point is going to be over 0.24. So I guess I could just go ahead and do that notch cut. Yeah, and leave that center bit. We'll just make my life a lot easier. Alright, so we're going to measure again that. Yeah. $17.86 and over 24. 17.86. I guess this is where it's going to get weird. Do I go in at some strange angle? Kind of seems like it. So I guess I could measure the width here, and that would give me like an idea where that cross is going to be. Yeah, get those 2 points. So we'll just go add a curve to there. That's like 0.46. All right. Okay, so I can do it this way. So I can go from here to... So that curve... Okay, this is going to be interesting. So what we're going to do is go divide this in half. 5.5. Point. And said here. And then, what's that length again? 0.71. Okay. Yeah, this piece is definitely the most complicated, just because I'm making it so. And yeah, this is weird. Just gonna keep going. We'll see how this turns out. frustrating thing is probably the seat post is going to have to change at some point. Like, I think I'm going to have to get away from square tubing, or I'm really not completely sure. But it just doesn't seem like this makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. Yeah. Looks like I got some shapes now I can work with. Okay. Looks like that'll be close enough. So that's like a crazy weird dovetail joint effectively. Was not expecting to be making that. But hey, it'll work. What? Trying to just like loose fit this together. Looks like I'm gonna have to glue it for this to actually work. But this has been a pretty weird work session. I definitely was expecting to work for like another hour still. And really, I guess I could be, but it's going to be like gluing and stuff like that. And I feel like this session has been way more boring than the last one. So I guess we'll see how this continues. But I'm going to pause the stream. I'm going to take a break, eat some food, get some glue and stuff like that together, and some tape. And then I'm going to start gluing and taping this together. So keep posted. I'll probably be back in like 15 minutes or something like that if you're interested, and we'll take it from there.